Hi everyone, I thought I would make a quick tutorial to run through a few things that Mastering A&P has to offer. I am logged into my instructor homepage right now, so mine might look just a little bit different than your student version, but I think it'll be similar enough to where this video will be useful for you. So the first thing I want to point out is your assignments. So you will have an assignment list, and these are your assignments for the semester. And this is my master course for A&P 1. Your real course already has the due dates and everything set up. But here's what I want to point out. If you think back to how we are doing the quizzes and exams in Populi, you have your quizzes cover, specific chapters. I tell you, okay, quiz 1 covers chapters 1 and 2. There's 15 questions. You get 20 minutes. And a lot of times I'll say, it's pretty much not multiple choice. It's matching true, false, things like that. The same thing with the exam. I tell you, it's chapters 1 through 5. It's 50 multiple choice. You get an hour. You get 1 attempt. I'm trying to set up the quizzes to where you have 2 attempts, so I'm hoping that's going to be the norm from now on. The idea with the quizzes and the exams are they should be closed book, closed notes. We are trying to get you to quote-unquote quiz yourself and really give yourself an idea of how well you know the information. Your Mastering A&P assignments, on the other hand, are set up quite a bit different. So I'm going to just click on chapters 1 and 2, and I'm not really going to show you the questions themselves. Many of you have probably already started looking through the questions themselves. What I'm going to show you is, make sure I go to the right place. I think it's grading. Yes, okay. So here's how I set up the Mastering A&P assignments. I allow for students to take assignments up to 2 times and keep their best score. But there's another little doodad down here that I can click, and I can limit the number of attempts per question, okay? So basically what this is saying is that every question in your Mastering A&P assignment, you can do that question 3 times. And once you go through each of the questions and you're satisfied with your answers, you can submit your whole assignment. And then this tells us that you can go back and redo the entire assignment 1 more time. Okay, so you're really getting 6 attempts per question. Now, a lot of the questions are multiple choice with only 4 answers, so you're not really going to need 6 full attempts, but some of the questions are labeling and matching, so sometimes the more attempts you have, it's actually kind of needed. So that's kind of how I have that set up, and I just wanted to point that out real quick. Now, you won't necessarily have access to all this because, again, I'm in my instructor version, but I did want to point out that you can do these multiple times to still earn full credit. Now, if you forget to do the assignment by the deadline for whatever reason, you can go back and complete the assignment just for practice, so it doesn't lock you out of the assignment after the due date passes. You just won't get any credit for it, okay? A lot of your assignments will have just a little bit of extra information that you may have access to as well. For example, this one tells you that there are 20 questions in the assignment. I just went ahead and let everything be 1 point apiece to make my life easier. And then estimated 88 minutes. Why is this so long with 20 questions? If you've gone through this, some of these are legitimate activities with videos for you to watch, animations, things like that. And these aren't just estimates. This very well could only take you 20 or 30 minutes, maybe even less. But, if it takes you more than 88 minutes, then that's okay as well. So I hope you don't get too caught up on these estimated times. Now, let me see what else I can show you here. So there is a grade book as well, and since this is my master course, We don't have any students in it, so there's no worrying about showing people's grades. But here is, okay, so there's no grades to display because I have not set any due dates for the assignments, because again, this is just my master course. But your grades will be displayed just individually, just like a normal gradebook would be, just like your gradebook in Populi will be. I'm gonna set it up to where it's gonna show you a percentage, and then at the very right hand side at the end of the term, we'll have like your total percentage. I'm just going to take that percentage and plug it into Populi. Okay, so like that's going to be your Mastering A&P grade. You will have access to this Mastering A&P grade book the whole semester though, and so you will know, like as soon as you finish your first assignment, you immediately know your grade. But I'm only going to import grades into Populi at the very end of the semester. It just makes my life a little easier, to be honest. Okay, so I think that kind of gives you an idea of what you can expect for the individual required assignments, the graded assignments. But I do want to show you one more little area real quick, and it is the study area. It's pretty well named. Now, this is a little complicated. You have to push a bunch of buttons. So we click the study area, and then we have to click launch the study area. And it does open a new window for us. But here's what we end up with. So it's worth clicking all the extra buttons. You have a lot of resources in here that you have already paid for. Through your Mastering A&P subscription, you have access to most of these. I don't think any of these are instructor specific. A couple of them might be, but most of these you should have access to already. So study by chapter is fairly self-explanatory. Every single chapter in the textbook gets its own little unit, and within that unit there's a practice test, there's a podcast, you've got the e-text right here. You can do a follow-up quiz to make sure you're really understanding this particular information. If you read the section headings, like overview of anatomy and physiology, that's definitely something that we are going to cover, so you might want to read that. Core principles of anatomy and physiology, that's not in your notes, so you might not want to read that and take that quiz. So you have all of these. Again, that's per chapter. And then if we go back to home, I'll point out just another one or two. You can also access your e-text from here. If we go back just real quick to the regular Mastering A&P, you can get to your e-text from here as well if you have purchased access to the e-text. So a couple different places you can access that. Again, narrated podcasts if you're into podcasts, practice tests, animations and videos. These cover a wide range of topics, so not necessarily, there won't necessarily be a video or an animation that hits every single chapter, every single learning objective, but if you are very visual and you like the animations, things like that, it's at least worth checking it out to see if they have something for you to watch on a topic that you've been struggling with. And then the other thing that I would show you is called the Practice Anatomy Lab. Now I know, and again, this is one where you have to click 3 or 4 times, but it's worth it. So we get into this PAL, this Practice Anatomy Lab. Now I know that we don't technically have lab to go along with this course, but when you get to your surface anatomy and palpations courses later on in your journey, you are going to need to know a little bit of anatomy, and I thought that this might be a helpful resource for you. And since you've already purchased access to Mastering A&P, you already have access to this. So again, it may or may not be helpful, but I do think it could be helpful in certain circumstances. So we are going to do a little bit with bones and muscles just to kind of get you ready for surface anatomy, or if you're already taking surface anatomy, this might be a good way for you to review and things like that. So I would suggest the bones are good with the human cadaver. So for example, let's just look at a good old arm bone. So upper limb, Here we go. So this is your humerus. So this is your arm bone. So it highlights it here. You've got a real bone here. As you can see, if you put your mouse over it, it will label it for you.
Head.
And if you click on it, it talks to you, y'all. You can click show labels and it does all of the labels. If you're ready to practice, you can hide the labels, things like that. You can see that there are 27 different images associated with just the upper limb. Okay. This also comes with a quiz and a lab practical as well, so you'd be able to use those if you choose. The only thing I would kind of caution you on with the quizzes and the lab practicals, this is pretty detailed. This is designed for an anatomy or physiology course that legitimately has a lab component, possibly even a human cadaver lab. That's a little bit beyond what you in your courses would need with WAN. So a lot of these questions may end up covering material that's just not pertinent to you. And these pre-formed assignments in Mastering A&P in PAL, I can't go in and modify them. I would have to create brand new assignments, so I can't go into this quiz and I can't I can't just remove this question. So you may or may not find the quiz and lab practical themselves useful, but at the very least, exit. At the very least, it'll show you some images, things like that. So the bones one with the human cadaver, I think, could be of use to you. And then you may find the muscular system human cadaver useful, or you may just want to come down here to the anatomical models. This also has the skeleton as well. Bones are bones. This one's just not quite bone color. It's a little different. Real bone and model bones are just slightly different color, but same idea. You can show yourself the labels, you can unlabel them, things like that. And then the muscular system. So for surface anatomy, eventually you would want to know where things like the pectoralis major are and things like that. And again, if you click on them,
Pectoralis major.
I love it when it talks to me. And sometimes you just don't really know how to pronounce things. So there you go. So I can't really think of anything else. I hope that was helpful. Again, practice anatomy lab, probably more useful for prepping or using in conjunction with your surface anatomy classes, or at least to get ready for those classes. I don't think you use a Pearson textbook with that course, but since you have already paid for access to this, it's something that you could go in on your own and use. And then if we go back to, there we go. If we go back to our original course, don't forget that all of this was just under the study area. Now, if that was just a little overwhelming for you, if you're like, I just think I have enough, that's okay too. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew the potential that your subscription to Mastering A&P gets for you. Okay, I don't want anybody feeling like they wish they had more resources. I think you would have enough if you utilize this to its full potential. But as always, if anybody has any questions or concerns, don't hesitate, reach out, send me an email, post within the course, something like that. If you can't find something that you're hoping for, or if I went too fast with something and you'd like a slower walkthrough, something like that, just let me know. I will see you guys later.